What's up everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who ain't got a clue I of course am the FPL train, where in today's video, as you probably could tell by the thumbnail that you clicked on, I'm doing a wildcard team ahead of game week 30. Now, am I activating the wildcard shit? That's the most important thing that nobody probably cares about. And the answer is no, I'm not. I've been thinking about it a lot during the international break. Should I do it? Should I not? And I figured, you know what? I've had a crap season anyway. One more week isn't going to hurt me. So another red arrow couldn't damage me permanently at all, surely. So I'm going to leave it for now. I want to have a good idea on what's going to happen with the FA Cup games, double game weeks and that, because I've already used my free hit chip, so I literally just got the wildcard chip, the bench boost, and the triple captaincy. So I want to have a good idea what I want to do with them. So to get a clearer picture, I'm going to need to wait for the FA Cup games to happen, and then see what the draw happens and who's going to double game week and that, and see what happens there. So I'm going to wait. And to be honest, I'm not too fussed about it. But if you are going to wildcard this game week, this is a team that I would do going into this game week. And starting off are the two goalkeepers. As you can see, I've got Kepa as the starting goalkeeper and Areola as the backup goalkeeper. Now, originally, to be fair, the two goalkeepers I had was, of course, Kepa still, but the second goalkeeper was actually, Henderson of Crystal Palace. But the fact is, I just got distracted with the fact that he had Southampton away. I thought, you know what, perfect. But no, I've gone for these two. Areola just because, he's the cheapest starting goalkeeper that you can have. And Kepa, I mean, he's been impressive this season. And his fixtures, from now to the end of the season are not too bad. I mean, it gets a bit tougher towards the end of the season when they've got the likes of Arsenal, Man City, and Aston Villa in between that. Those 3 game weeks are going to be tough. But apart from that, their fixtures are pretty decent in all fairness. And then West Ham's fixtures, I mean, the next 5 anyway, they're pretty decent for them. They've only got one tough one probably in Man City away, and then after that they're fine. So, sorry, I've just realised I completely read the wrong set of fixtures there, and I've just read Wolves'. So, West Ham's fixtures going forward. Next 2 are alright. We've got Liverpool away, which is a bit difficult, obviously, well, it's very difficult. And then Southampton home, and then it just gets a bit tricky then after that, with the likes of Brighton, Spurs, United, and Forest. So they don't have the easiest fixtures, but the fact is, he is just the cheapest starting goalkeeper I can have, and I've not had a second goalkeeper. Well, for me personally, I haven't had a backup goalkeeper all season, so I would have him in my team just because he starts week in, week out. But yeah, Kepa, I think looks good. There are obviously other options out there that you could possibly go for, but for me, those are the 2 that I would pick going into this game week. Now then, with the 5 defenders we have got, so starting in my back 3 out of the 5 here is, of course, you've got Gahey, who's got, like I mentioned before, with Crystal Palace, they've got Southampton away this game week, 4.7 million. I know a lot of people going for that wing back, who's a bit more at 5 million. This team, you could get him in because there's a bit of money still in the bank. But I've gone for Gahey. He's Crystal Palace's captain. He starts week in, week out. I mean, not like the other guy doesn't. But he was just a little bit cheaper, and I figured I'd just have him. Now, don't get it twisted. This guy's fixtures long term are horrible. They've got double game week in 32. It's already confirmed. And it's painful, Man City and Newcastle away. So it's not the best double game week to have. I mean, there's still the likes of Arsenal, Forest, Spurs and Liverpool to play in the final game week. So it's not the best pick in the world. But, for the next game week, he's got Southampton away. So he's definitely be starting that one, wouldn't he? So Gay starts. Well, it's up to you guys if you start him. Then you got Guardiola, who's got Leicester City at home. Man City been awful this season, but to have Leicester City, who just don't know how to score anymore. They've got a manager who used to be a striker who doesn't seem to be able to get the boys to score goals. Just very, very random, I'll have to say. So, Guardiola's there. And I've gone for Kieran Trippier as my final starting back 3 player. But obviously, if you guys have this team, you could probably have 4 at the back, maybe 5 at the back. It's up to you, or you can swap it around. But I've gone for Kieran Trippier here. Not talked about much this season, mostly because he has barely played at all this season. Literally barely at all. But Lewis Hall's out for the season. And since he's been out, Kieran Trippier has stepped in. Livermento's moved to the left. And Kieran Trippier has looked pretty good since starting. Obviously, he won the Carabao Cup as well for Newcastle the other week. And his fixtures are not too bad at all. Brentford, Leicester, double game week in 32. He's got the likes of Ipswich still to come. Not bad fixtures at all. And Kieran Trippier, is that kind of guy who can get you bonus points, he can get you assists, he can get you goals. And I just think it's worth going for because not a lot of people are looking at him for obvious reasons. And he could be that outside pick that could change the back end of your season. Might be good, might be bad. But hopefully it would be good. And he's definitely something in my Game Week 31 wildcard, which I look set to do, will be going into my team as well. One of the high anticipated ones because, like I said, not many people are looking at him. So then that leaves the two players that are on the bench. And that is, of course, Timber of Arsenal and Dan Burn of Newcastle. So double Newcastle defence I've gone for. You know, bit crazy you might think, but I do like their fixtures. It only gets tough really in Game Week 36. You could argue 35 Brighton, but 36 is Chelsea and then 37 is Arsenal. So something to look at there possibly, but you can put them on the bench for those game weeks. I mean, Chelsea aren't really that good either. And obviously Timber, he's the cheapest starting Arsenal defender you could get. Obviously Ben White is back, but he hasn't been coming on really starting. And so don't get me wrong, if Ben White starts in game week 30, I'd be a little bit worried if I was a Timber owner. So there is that gamble. But at the minute he starts week in, week out. And Arsenal's fixtures from now to the end of the season are pretty good, to be fair. Only Liverpool away is a game I'd be concerned about. But by that point, Liverpool could have already won the Premier League by then. And they could be partying already. So that is something to think about as well. So Arsenal could possibly win that game as well. So good fixtures for Arsenal. He starts week in, week out. It just makes sense to go for him. Obviously, you would like to go for maybe a Gabriel Saliba. But the fact is that they cost too much. Whereas these Timber, you can get some. Well, he's a lot cheaper and he starts, like I said, week in, week out. So then, with the midfield then, it's a 5-man midfield here. But let's face it, if I was to do this team and put it out for Game Week 30, I would change it to a 4-man midfield and a 4-man defence. Just because you can see it there, there's two dirt cheap midfielders in this team. Why? Because I've got Mohamed Salah. And a lot of people don't have Mohamed Salah in their team. If they're wildcarding, they're avoiding him. Which I can't understand personally, but I'll talk about a bit later. But yeah, I've got Bergvall, who's 4.4 million of Spurs. Is he the best pick to go for? No, he's not. So he would be the guy that would be on the bench if I had to make any decisions. Because, look, he is not the best player to have in your team at all. Let's be honest. I mean, the guy's got 2 assists all season. He's only started 8 games for Spurs this season. So that's not great at all. And his fixtures, yes, he got Chelsea coming up, so that's another reason. Then he's got Southampton and Wolves, which is nice. But the thing is, will he start those games? I mean, there is a good chance he will, to be fair, because Spurs are going for the Europa League. So he could start those games. That's something to think about as well. But I did have somebody in the bank, so I could upgrade him to somebody, but there wasn't really. I was 0.1 million off Minter, which is frustrating. Very frustrating, because I would have loved to have him in my team. But unfortunately, can't afford him, so I'm not going to be doing that. So that's why Bergwijn is in my team. But he'll be on the bench if I was to have him, because I don't see him doing much. But it's not great, obviously, if you're looking at bench boosting not long after. So if you are going to be if I was to bench boost, so to say, with this team, I'll be making changes before the bench boost week. Obviously, people are not going to be bench boosting game week 31. So, that's something to think about as well. And obviously, you got Dibbling alongside him, also 4.4 million as well. He's definitely a better option, I'd say, than the Spurs midfielder, because he does start week in, week out. He does get, he's got a couple of goals. Wow, he's got 2 goals and 2 assists this season. I don't know why he scored more. I don't know why Southampton have been crap all season. But the thing is, he did get an assist in his last game as well. But the thing is, Southampton are the worst team in history in the Premier League at this moment in time. They can change that from now until the end of the season if they get a few wins. Their next game week is at home to Crystal Palace. So that is a winnable game, provided Mateta isn't fit to play and Eze doesn't play and all that. But it is a winnable game. No joke. This is a winnable game for them. Dibbling starts week in, week out for Southampton. He plays 90 minutes week in, week out for Southampton. So there's a chance, there's a small chance, that he could get something, maybe a goal or an assist in this game. When you look at the fixtures after, Spurs are all over the place, and they're focused on the Europa League anyway. Aston Villa will be focused on the Champions League. West Ham away. West Ham by this point are going to be safe. They can't get Europa League or European football, I'm guessing, so they'll probably be on holiday, you think. Fulham will be a tough game. Then they've got Leicester City away, and then Man City and Arsenal tough ones, and everything in between that. So we could get stuff in that. Don't get me wrong. I can't imagine people having him for that long. They probably would downgrade a Salah or a Haaland at that point. But, something to think about. I've gone for him just because of the short-term fixture and the fact that I've got a couple of premium players. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But yeah, Dibbling's in this team. And then you've got Leonardo Trossard. I don't know why I think it's Anthony. Leonardo Trossard of Arsenal. I'm losing my head today. Now, this guy is playing for a team that's obviously wants to win the league. They're not going to win the league. They do struggle to score, but the fact is, for the last 4 game weeks for Arsenal, Trossard has actually played 90 minutes in all 4 games. Played 88 minutes in the game before that as well, 87 before that. So he's getting good minutes with the likes of Havertz being out on that. So he's the cheapest option you could get, which is, a positive. There is the factor that Saka is going back in April, we're saying. So something to think about as well. So he could lose minutes there. But like I said, I've got Mohamed Salah in this team. But he is starting week in, week out. He's got some tasty fixtures coming up with the likes of Everton, Brentford, Ipswich, Palace. Some good fixtures. Fulham's not a bad one either. He can score against Fulham. He's good enough. We'll have to see. But he's 6.8 million, so he's cheaper than Martinelli. He's cheaper than Odegaard. Obviously, he's not cheaper than likes of Nwonye, but he doesn't start, whereas Trossard is starting, and obviously he's more of the forward role. So that is why I've gone for Trossard. I've also gone for Ismaila, however you say his name, Sarr of Crystal Palace. In my actual team, I've got Eze, but he's a bit more expensive than Sarr. So in this team, I've gone for Sarr. He had a great game week against Crystal Palace. He had a great game week in the game week before that against Aston Villa. So he's in a bit of form, to be fair, and played all right in the international break as well, to be fair to him. And he's got Southampton coming up in game week 30, which is a very nice fixture. They've got double game week, obviously, in 32. Not as nice with it being Man City and Newcastle. I think you got to try and turn your head on that one and just remember, Man City have been awful this season. Man City have been awful. Newcastle, we don't know how they're going to do now they won the Carabao Cup, because last time they lost in the final in the Carabao Cup, they had an awful end to the season. So that's something to think about as well. It might have the opposite effect this time because they won it, but we'll see there. So yeah, they've got some tricky fixtures towards the end of the season, but this he's had a quiet season for what we expected, but he still managed to get 7 goals and 4 assists this season, so he might be worth having a look at. And particularly as well, the fact that he's got Southampton coming up is very, very tasty. And that means the final option then we'll talk about is Mohamed Salah of Liverpool. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and that, maybe even YouTube. Well, I don't really watch a lot of people on YouTube anymore, but I've seen a lot of people, particularly on Twitter, going on about getting rid of Salah if they're going Wildcard, which I think is absolutely mental, personally. The guy's got 27 goals and 17 assists this season, and they're getting rid of him because they want a certain striker. Now, honestly, I think that is stupid, but then again, I'm having a crap season, so what do I know, eh? Maybe it is the right decision, but for me, personally, I would keep him in. He's got everything coming up. I don't think Liverpool are going to have any double game weeks now in the season, are they? Because they're out of all competitions now. So this is just literally what they've got left. But they've still got the likes of Everton, Fulham, West Ham, Leicester, Spurs conceding goals, Chelsea they can score against. Arsenal's probably the trickiest one, but it's at home. Palace away, which I reckon will be tricky because they've already won the league then. And then Palace at home, final game week of the season. So no cup competition, so it's literally just that. So honestly, I'd have Salah at the end of the season. Now, Erling Haaland will be double game weeking. Don't know when, but we reckon he will be double game weeking at some point in this season. The question is when. But what I would say to that is, if you don't have both, all you have to do is, when you find out it's double game week in, have 2 spare free transfers for that game week, take Salah out, and put a cheaper midfield in, and swap a striker with Haaland, and there you go. Simple. I mean, swap it back not long after, even if it's from -4 hit, because the way Salah's play is unreal. And the reason why I say that as well is because Erling Haaland, yes, he's got 21 goals this season, which is decent. But since game week 6, he's been crap, in my personal opinion. So he had that mega start to the season. Hat-trick against West Ham. Hat-trick against Ipswich. So obviously he scored against Chelsea. Got 2 against Brentford. And then he scored against Arsenal. And then since then, he's been meh. Meh. He hasn't scored a hat-trick, I believe, since. He did score 2 against West Ham. But that was way back in game week 20 now. So it's not been amazing. He's got Leicester City coming up. I mean, he might have that double game week. Those are the only ones that I'll be like, ooh, I want Haaland for those ones. So apart from that, that is why I'm not sold on the fact of not having Salah in your team. And I don't think Erling Haaland's been amazing. Because like I said, he's got 21 goals this season, yeah? Impressive, right? Take away those 10 goals in the first 5 game weeks. Right? So that means we've played 25 game weeks and he's got 11 goals. Not amazing. Not amazing at all for 14.8 million. So that is why I've got Salah in this team. Because I do think, yes, Haaland's going to have a double game week coming up, but just transfer Salah out that game week and get Haaland in. It just makes sense. So yeah, that is, anyway, I feel like I've been dribbling on too long. But yeah, that is the 5-man midfield I picked. So obviously you got Sarr, Trossard, Bergwijn dribbling, and Salah. Finally, then I'll go into the strikers and I'll keep this one quick because that midfield talk, blimey, that went on for ages. So obviously Erling Haaland's in this team. I've mentioned him quite a bit already in this video. For me, he's got Leicester City coming up at home. That is the reason why I have him in this wildcard team. If I was to wildcard in game week 31, I don't think I'd do. I'd wait till I find out his double game week and bring him in then. Because he's got Leicester at home then. I'm not sure how we're getting against United. But the closest then having decent fixtures for me is 35 and 36 with Wolves and Southampton. And that's when I'm probably looking at getting him back. But apart from that, I just don't like Haaland. I don't like Man City this season at all now. So for me, just having him for game week 30 because I'm wildcard. This is a wildcard team for game week 30. But if this is a wildcard in game week 31, I don't think I'd have him in my team. Isak's in there. Honestly, I tried so hard to not have Isak in this team because he's got Brentford and Leicester coming up, you can't not have him in. Game week 32, I definitely would get rid of him then. Well, not definitely. We'll see how he does in 30 and 31. But game weeks 30 and 31 are decent. But then after that, they're not electrifying fixtures. Yes, he's got Ipswich in 34 and that. But for me, look, the guy's been sensational though, to be fair. Like Salah, 19 goals, 5 assists. But yeah, this guy's primarily been brought in just for the next couple of game weeks. And the final player is Evan Nielsen. Similar really to Isak. The next couple of fixtures are pretty decent. Then they go a bit stale after that. And then his final game week is Leicester, which is nice. But he's not a long-term pick. If I'm being honest, I wanted Slanky in this team. Because he's got game week 31, he's got lots of Southampton and Wolves. But you could hold off one game week with Haaland, take him out and put Slanky in that way. But yeah, those are the 3 strikers I've got. Best strikers you probably get at this moment in time, particularly for game week 30, because you've got to remember all 3 of these strikers are at home. Leicester, Brentford, Ipswich at home. Great fixtures. So that is why I've gone for those 3. If I was captain this team, I was still captaining as well Mohamed Salah, because he's at home against Everton. Maybe Derby, but I'd still captain him. Obviously, Erling Haaland would be a decent shout as well, because he's got Leicester at home. So yeah, that is the wildcard team I would do. Sorry, it's a bit long. I think the midfield bit was just too long to talk about, wasn't it? But yeah, let me know what you think of this wildcard team. Let me know what you guys are doing for Game Week 30. Are you wildcarding? If so, what is your wildcard team looking like? Thanks for watching this video. Before you go as well, please do not forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next one.